Is everyone recording?
Yeah.
Hey, welcome.
Well,
Welcome to the free episode of the. What? What were you gonna say? What were you gonna say?
You asked if everybody was recording. I'm not recording.
How many fucking times? I'm beginning to think you're serious. I'm honestly, Greg. I'm beginning to think he's serious. That he
said
thinks,
everybody.
Anthony, you and I can't record.
Okay.
We
Okay,
cannot.
I think I got it.
Greg
Okay.
and Dan record. What do you mean you think you got it? With no recording ever.
We'll see.
No.
We won't know going forward, but pretty sure I got it locked in.
No, we do know going forward. You and I don't record. Greg records as the backup. Dan is the primary recorder. That's it. That's the end of it.
That's a lot of fuck. That takes a lot of pressure off me. That's great.
If there's pressure on you, what other pressures do you have that we don't know about? What other pressures of things that you've never had to deal with in your life are you dealing with?
In terms of the recording process?
I don't know, man. In terms of the fact that you thought you should have been thinking about recording for 7 years.
Well,
not 7 years, just the past couple months.
You saying this takes the pressure off you is like a guy who's just at home watching a baseball game and then they put a pinch hitter in and he goes, that really took the pressure off me to drive the runners home. No, you were never in the game, man. There was never pressure.
You never know when they call. You never know when the Yankees might call and they might go, man, maybe we're down to the end. Maybe we'll get that fan.
I would argue, and I'm not a sports guy, so I'll have to take a back seat to this if you guys know more. But I don't know that they ever called anyone who they had never scouted or seen or known before in a sporting event.
They generally don't do that. That's true. But you gotta have a first for everything.
Oh boy.
Anyway, I would
Anyway,
say you could probably find an instance in some sport. It would have to be like pre-1920. I bet you could find some instance of them being like, yeah, old oily smelter's drunk again, and Reginald Sticky Fingers never showed up. How about that boy there in the front row? He looks sturdy, I bet it happened at some point.
Sure, that was never in Major League or the NBA. It happens in, when you're playing on the street with your friends and then Sal doesn't show up because he's kissing a girl in the closet. So you go, I call the nerd in. That's the only time. It doesn't happen over 16 at the age of 16.
No, but I'm arguing pre-1920, I bet it happened in one of the major sports leagues. I bet they were like, we need a guy, get a guy. Anthony?
I mean, they had the replacement players for that one season. Not the whole season, but
people called on the phone. We're not people. They were not just sitters and homers. Those were people who were in the minor leagues or friends of friends or nepotism.
Well, let's say that those guys decided not to play. I'm just saying it could happen. Unlikely, sure, but it could happen.
I'm saying that it's more likely that you'll be asked. It's more likely that they'll get a garbage man who's never played baseball to jump into the major leagues than it will ever be for you to be asked to record this podcast.
And what I'm saying is that's such a load of pressure that's taken off me right there in that sentence. And
again,
the way you just said it, it's so much more because the likelihood is so little. Do you know what I mean?
I would again like to repeat what I said. It is more likely for the NBA to grab the garbage man who's bringing garbage, who's never been seen by the NBA, than for me to ask you to record this podcast. Yes.
Those garbage men might be pretty good, though, because they're so used to tossing garbage in the truck.
And they have a better chance of playing on the Celtics than you do of having to record this podcast.
And I'm saying that's such great news.
For garbage men everywhere. Never give up on your dreams. Oh, and for you. And for you, yes.
I know. It is not my dream to hit record on the podcast. that would add a tremendous amount of stress to my already boilerplate. So I'm so happy to not have it, is what I'm saying.
No, I know. I get it.
When the baseball players went on strike, Tom Candiotti, who's a great pitcher.
I know Tom.
It was just kind of like, I don't know. It seems like we make a lot of money already. I'm going to keep pitching. And then no one spoke to him for the rest of his career because he was a scab. He kept playing with the replacements because he was like, we're going on strike. We're Major League Baseball. I make $3 million.
Yeah.
Literally no one ever spoke to him in the locker room for the rest of his career because he was a scab.
Can I say this, man? That's very freeing for Tom Candiotti. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, well, he's going to talk to me anyway. Guess who's going to fuck all your wives?
Yeah. I no longer have to worry about being any of your friends.
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about birthdays. I don't have to worry about presents. You don't have to worry about being rude.
Guess who didn't think the Newtown shooting was real? Guess who didn't even think the town of Newtown was real?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't pitch a great game. Guess everyone's going to be equally mad at me.
Yeah.
You know, no pressure on the on the pennant. The pennant or pendant? Because you get a pendant, right?
You don't get a pendant. You get a pennant. But what you could do,
nice if you got a pendant.
You could, I bet you could request if the team as a whole, because what's interesting, and I think we've talked about this before, the whole ring thing is a bit of a sham. The league's not giving anyone rings. The owner of the team buys the rings if you win a World Series or a Super Bowl. So I bet if the team got together and as a full unit went to the owner and said, hey, man, none of us want rings. We want pendants. Yes. I think you have to get the pendant because it is, what's that? What's it to him? He's paying the same money.
I would also argue that the worst team in the league could all just say to the owner, hey, we want rings. So if you want us to play at all, you also have to buy us rings. They're not earned. You're buying them. Just buy us rings.
What would they say? Because the World Series rings obviously says World Series champion 2019. What would these guys' rings say?
I love you. I love you. I love all of you. They're really hard. And you're all very special to me.
Would it be possible if they gave them the World Series rings in the beginning of the season? Because then they would be like, you better win the title or else you got this stupid ring. It doesn't mean anything.
Oh, you're saying like, the ring is like a
motivation tool.
Yeah, like when your mom is like, I'm going to get you your birthday present now. You better be good. And
you better be, yes.
Take it away. And sorry. I'm sorry. This is big. You buy the rings in the beginning of the season, and at the end of the season, you don't have a championship like parade. You have a parade where every other team has to be stripped of their rings. Give us our ring back.
That solves my problem because I was going to say you're dealing with risky business there because I know professional athletes and you give them a ring at the beginning of the season and then they don't win the championship. Good luck getting the ring back because those are valuable rings. They're just going to say, you gave me a ring. I don't care. I don't care if I didn't win. It's got diamonds in it and shit. I'm going to sell it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's written in their contract or something.
Yeah, it could be.
You have to give the ring back.
But it's a shitty thing to do.
But
such a shitty thing to do.
They all ignored those. Like they all got the no riding a motorcycle thing in their contract. They're on motorcycles all the time.
Speaking of Dennis Rodman, him too. He was known for it. Then
no Carmen Electra policy.
Yeah, he drove himself. Game night, fought the world champion at WCW in the NW. He became part of the NWO not during a game. That is so crazy that Dennis Rodman in the playoffs turned heel.
Yeah, that whole game, I was worried about him turning to the Utah Jazz because of what he had done. He just did it last night. He's bound to do it here.
I got a story when you guys are ready. I don't know if we're still jamming on this.
It's funny. Yes, and I would like to hear. I just have last thing to say about that. Is like Rodman doing that was fine. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I'm sure there was I'm sure Scott Burrell was like, all right, if Robin's doing that, then I'm going to my rollerblading club. And,
Yeah.
and then he came back, and they were like, Scott Burrell, you're off the team.
Did they kick him
Well,
off the team?
You know what I mean? Like, I'm
No.
Oh, right, yeah.
I know exactly what you mean, and I'll tell you why. Because me and my brother got kicked off the Anthony's left. Me and my brother got kicked off when I was
No, I'm back.
when
I
I
got
was
a FaceTime call.
when I was a freshman and he was a junior. My dad kicked us off the high school soccer team. My dad was the coach for getting into a fist fight at practice. Then all of a sudden, come big game Friday night, turns out my brother's suspension is lifted, mine still in place. No explanation. They just needed him. He was better at that point. I'm still suspended.
That's what they say with this COVID thing. They keep saying how much money is a life worth, like for us to go back to work. And it's a funny argument because then it's like, how many rebounds is turning to the NWO worth? Because Scott Burrell can't turn to the NWO. But if you get 70 rebounds in 2 games, then you can throw a spear into an open coffee shop or whatever.
Yeah, it's like they've unlocked privileges. Yes, no,
Yes.
the spear into an open coffee shop. I think you're 100% right. But yeah, no, they've unlocked certain privileges by performing so well. Yeah, Michael Jordan was smoking cigars mid-game. Sounds like Randy Brown could do that.
Yeah, there was a moment where Phil in the documentary where it's the coach before Phil shares a Coca-Cola mid-game with Michael Jordan. I go, you don't see this anymore. You don't see people drinking Coca-Cola Classic. That might have been New Coke. Maybe they wanted to taste it. I don't know.
Yeah. So, I guess that's what's nice about being an only child. I never had that moment with a brother. Do you know what I mean?
Well, don't think it's just being an only child. It's really a very rare occurrence where your dad suspends you both from a team and then lets the other guy back on. It's not a normal family occurrence. That's the behavior of a lunatic. Guess what? Your suspension is lifted. What's the explanation? None. No explanation.
We had that in my house. Very similar to my house. Go ahead, Anthony. Because I'm going into somewhere else. Go ahead.
Oh, no, that was fine.
Greg?
Okay.
Remember we talked yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
I
This
say
was
go,
lefty.
I'm not.
I'm a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Greg.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, no, I was going somewhere else. This was just, it's very similar to Brendan's move we had in my house where Christmas presents would be handed out and Monica would have 3 or 4 Christmas presents. Joe, 1 big Christmas present, and then Greg would get a card that says, sorry, we didn't have a lot of money this year. Oh, what's going on with these other presents?
And then they would be like, you should be grateful you got a card.
Yeah.
We donated your Christmas presents. We donated your Christmas presents to the Monica Fund. So that's good for you.
We thought that's what you would have wanted.
Yeah. Now, before we gotta go ahead, Anthony.
That's why, and I think maybe I said this a week ago or something. Kids need a union.
Yes, the kids union. You never said that in your life.
No.
But I love it. Kids union? Yeah, open it up, man. That's
Because
hold on. This is too good. Hang on to this. Let me just get the business out of the way. I'm trying to get back on track of being a little better about the business.
Tuesday?
Yes. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Rad Dudecast. Do not forget that for the duration of quarantine and probably past, we are now offering –
I'll be doing it forever. I don't know.
We are now offering 3 extra episodes a week. For $5, you get 1. For $10 per month, you get 2. For $15 a month, you get 3 extra episodes. That's on patreon.com/Rad Dudecast. It's really, we're churning out content. We appreciate all of you who signed up. If you haven't, talk to someone that has, because it's fantastic. And then we haven't said this in forever, but we could use your help by pause the podcast right now and wherever you get the podcast, rate it, review it, and subscribe to it. If you like it, if you like it. If you don't like it, you're a madman for listening. But, take a little time to do that. Anthony, back to you with the Kids Union.
Wait. Last episodes was so funny. So just letting everyone know, last night's episode was very funny. We had a lot of funny things happen. I thought yesterday's episode was great. Before we get to the Kids Union.
It was great. And we got even people outside the podcast said it was great.
Yeah. That's why I was saying it, because I always think this is like the best, but people were like, I mean, that was the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and that one you got to pay for. So, so if you want to hear how great that last one is, you got to shell out some dough. And speaking on to what Brendan was saying, we'll probably be doing this forever beyond quarantine, because we can't go on the road forever. There's no way to make money anymore.
Yeah.
There's zero way. I just had a weekend in July in Nebraska cancel on me, just to give you an idea of how dire things are.
Is
Really?
that true?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Because my end of June stuff in Oklahoma and Arkansas is looking like it's a go.
This is when you can see the red state, blue states,
Yeah.
Well, Nebraska ain't exactly blue, my friend. I mean, judging by just where it is and what they do, I don't think so.
This is one of them ones, those ones that are blue and you don't realize. It's like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
We're weird out here, man.
Yeah.
From what I found being in Nebraska, the one time I was there for a weekend, who they hate the most are people from Missouri. So they're very localized. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not. You don't have to worry about them hating like black people or gay people. They really just care about Missouri.
It's because there's less people there. Because there's so little people there that they all specifically hate specific people from Missouri.
Yeah.
Ted hates Mike.
Yeah. They haven't moved on to black people. They're busy with Ted.
Yeah.
I tried to do a riff in Nebraska in Omaha one time that was very poorly received. Someone had told me, one of the guys working at the club had told me, because I was talking about how it's crazy coming from Cleveland, where like professional sports are everything. And it's just always interesting to me on the road where like if you get down south or to certain Midwestern places, like college sports are everything. Like they don't give a shit about professional at all, which is always weird to me because I'm like, why don't you watch the better sports? Like, they're better. They're way better. But this guy told me that when Nebraska, the Cornhusker football team loses, there's a huge spike in domestic violence incidents, which is horrible and sad. But I tried to riff on stage where I go, that is horrible. It's sad. But I feel like it's pretty good halftime speech material, like you're just in there at halftime, like, well, we're down 7, boys. Guess you don't care about your mothers, Nobody laughed, and everyone just stared at me, and I go, don't hit women. Onto the act.
Now, back to Anthony's unionizing children.
Yes. Because so many things happen to kids without, like your dad, you were saying, Brendan, where your dad was just like, he's playing and you're not. Your bedtime's 9:30.
Yeah.
Because I said, like, all those things just happen and kids have no recourse whatsoever. But if they had a union and they had a set of laws in place, then they could just refer to that.
Yeah. A rep. When your teacher is like, yo, you're clearly picking on me. I need to go speak to my rep. You'd think your rep is the guidance counselor, but they're working for the man. That's like when you go to HR at your job and you're like, hey, I can't work here anymore. And they're like, well, you're fired. And it's like, well, I thought you were my guy. No, we need a specific kid's rep. Are they an adult or are they a kid? Is it your babysitter? Like, who do we get to be the union rep?
See, this is going to be the problem. Anybody who becomes union rep as an adult for the children, everyone's going to assume they're a pedophile. Which is
no. The union rep's got to be a kid. You can't
be a kid.
You can't have adult. The adults are out. No adults involved in this union. Now,
and I think every age group gets their own rep. You know what I mean? Because you're going to run into that problem.
Of course. Well, it's like you've got your auto workers union, you've got your food handlers union, you've got your 12-year-olds. And the other thing is unions handle disputes between workers. That could be good too, because one thing that bothered me as a kid, you're automatically signed up for a lot of games you didn't agree to play.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
my God. Tell
you
them,
know,
fucking go, man.
The whole thing about like, hey, you looked at the circle on my knee, now I punch you. I didn't say I was playing that game. What are you talking about? Or like, Jinx, you owe me a Coke. No, I don't. I don't even have any money. I don't even have any money.
Yeah, that's where your union rep could step in.
Yeah.
And be like, you know, according to the bylaws of being 12, his kid is safe from this game.
Yeah.
You can eat your mustard sandwich in peace, Jerry.
Yeah.
Yeah, your mustard sandwich. For the kids who like just condiment. That's what kids are. Kids will be like, they're like foo-foo about shit, but it's not like medium rare steak. It's like, I like turkey with no meat or cheese. Mayo on bread.
Well, can I tell you how the mustard sandwich happened as well?
Sure.
Further union developments. Because the kid goes, I want a mustard sandwich. And the mom goes, you can't have a mustard sandwich. I made you this. And the kid goes, but I want a mustard sandwich. And then the union rep for food stuff with kids steps in and goes, this kid can have a mustard sandwich. Yeah. It's not too debilitating nutrient-wise.
See, I would argue that, but then the parents are also going to have a – so I got to say that I think that the kids rep needs to be an adult, but it needs to be a trusted adult like a Mr. Rogers type because a kid is not smart enough to argue for the thing, right? So you get
let Greg go a little bit more.
I know. I interrupted him. I'm full of debate here. I'm full of debate, and I interrupted you, and I apologize, sir. That does not follow the rules of debate. I interrupted you with a noise. Continue.
Yeah. So you want the kid. You want the kid to. You need an adult who is going to look out for the welfare, and a kid, an adult that kids trust, right? So you want to get someone who's like, but because of that, I understand the pedophile thing. So I do want to say that we're also going to have a task force that looks at these people 24 hours a day. So as the child rep, you are assigned a Secret Service, but the Secret Service isn't looking to protect you. They're just eyeballing every text message, everything you do. This is a man or woman, 24-hour a day. Well, maybe like a dog who can sniff out bombs, but he sniffs out dirty thoughts from a man, right? And they're assigned this dog to be with them if you're going to be the rep for the kids.
Can I say this? If the kids union is the catalyst that creates the invention of the pedophile sniffing dog, it was all worth it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Brendan, go ahead.
Well, you won me over with the pedophile sniffing dog and the task force because that was going to be my issue. My issue is going to be let's just find the smartest kid, that kid that wants to be some the nerd. He's the rep. That go for the genius school kids because like you gave Mr. Rogers an example, and here's the problem when you're looking for these Mr. Rogers. It's like take Mr. Rogers for example. That guy, hero, wonderful man, proponent for children, just a beautiful man, but all the symptoms of a pedophile. He just turned out not to be one, but he had every symptom there was, bachelor, former minister, zip up sweaters, talks real quiet, feeds his fishes, best friend, Mr. McFeely, a lot of red flags. So I'm saying it's going to be hard to find the Mr. Rogers because they do look like the wrong thing.
That's the circle that overlaps the circle, right? If you want to get a kid, you got to act like Mr. Rogers. So
that's the thing.
To be that way, so you never know who the same thing in comedy.
Right?
Oh,
you're talking chicken or the egg.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a very chicken or egg situation. Yeah. You get these comedians who are like, they're likable on stage, but they just know that's how they have to act. Mm-hmm. And when they're off stage, they look past you. They're looking for Amy Schumer. These people are fucking monsters. But they would have never gotten that far in comedy if they didn't know how to fucking lie to your face and make you think they actually wanted to be your friend. That's just personal shit I'm bringing in right now. But
it didn't sound like it to me.
Yeah, completely random.
Yeah, it sounded pretty random, especially the specifics. This is off topic, but I just wanted to say one thing, and I think Greg, you hit it right on the head. We got to stop calling it a Venn diagram, and we got to call it a circle on circle thing.
Circle on circle makes way more sense.
It makes way more sense. It's way less pretentious. It's exactly what it is. That's a blue collar description of a Venn diagram.
Well, I
Yes.
think it's just Venn invented it. It would be my guess.
Well, he wants so much credit, but he didn't invent the circle, so fuck off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jimmy's circle is like,
Circle did it.
fucking kidding me? He just
Yeah.
he just took 2 of my circles and now he's calling it a Venn. That's 2 Jimmy circles.
Shapes need their own union.
So back to kids union,
Yeah.
if
Go
you
ahead.
will, because I think
Yes.
there's a lot of ironing out to do here. Because I think it works. I think that there's like kids just get fucked all the time.
Yeah.
And, not in like the worst. We look out for them for pedophilia, but we
Obviously.
don't look out
That's
for
why we
them.
have the dogs.
Exactly. The pedophile. Look, I like the dog thing, but I also like a man who is hired to stare at you for 24 hours a day and follow you wherever you go. And he's like, we used to have those. Brendan knows those. We had them in, you have a great story about one. We had them in the hospital when we had the people on suicide watch.
Sure.
A guy who just stares at you all day. And then he just can't go to sleep.
He can't sleep. It's the worst. The worst job in the world. And but here's the thing. We got to be really careful. Okay? We got to be very careful because a lot of these dogs, they look the same. You know what I mean? You got your bomb sniffing dogs, your cancer sniffing dogs, your cadaver dogs. Now we're adding pedophile dogs. And what the pedophiles are going to start doing is trying to say, this sucks. I got cancer. It turns out because the dog's barking at me. I got leukemia, and it's
I
like,
see what you're
no,
saying.
we kept the dogs straight. Don't fucking try and change dogs on us. Or he's like, yeah, I am. I'm a suicide bomber. You got me. Like, no, buddy. We kept the dogs separate.
Also, next time you're at the airport and you see the dog walking by, fun game is to go, hey, that's not a pedophile sniffing dog, is it?
Because you got to tell me if it is. You're legally obligated to tell me if it is. And I do like the idea of these pedophiles who are stuffing their pockets full of bombs at airports, just so when they get caught, they can go, you got me, guys. I'm a jihadi terrorist, and I'm certainly not a pedophile. Now take me to a little room.
Must be all this heroin I have in my ass.
Yeah. And then
That's the only thing that's been in my ass.
And then the handler is like, it would have worked if you just put a dog treat in your pocket. You're gonna have to go down for 25 years for heroin possession.
You could have bought some Jif.
Yeah.
Also, we'll tell you this, brother. When we get a lot of your kinds. When you get to prison, they're gonna know.
Yeah.
They're gonna know, man. We know why you're in here. So if going back to the kids union thing, I guess what would be in your experiences the times
In our experience, we are talking about a children's union.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and say we have none.
Well, hang on, Greg. Hang on. And
All right.
no, that was fun. I guess as a child, when were you like, man, that's when I could have used the kids union?
Well, I will say this. One thing that is happening right now that they're finding is more effective, right, is a much shorter but more breaks in the school year. So in other words, they're slowly moving towards almost a year-round schooling, but you get many more breaks that are like a week or 2 weeks instead of the big summer break, because they're finding kids don't retain a lot of information over that 2.5 month break. I think this would be a moment for the kids union to step in and say, we don't give a shit if we're not retaining the information. We want the goddamn summer break. We live for summer. You're going to take the best weather of the year and just say, here's 2 weeks off. You're in school all the time. Take this to my union rep, because no one's asking the kids about this.
Mm-hmm. I would argue. I want to say one, then I want to just pivot if you don't mind. I'm sorry. I got a lot to say here. One is studies have been shown, literal studies have been shown that homework does not help. Homework does nothing to help anyone. The reunion rep needs to step in and go, we're done with homework. You've done the studies. Stop giving us homework. It doesn't work. We're done. Now,
I would agree. Let me jump in.
Go ahead.
Would agree if you can show me these studies.
This is legit. This is legit.
Studies. I'm on board. I'm on board.
There are schools in general that have stopped doing homework because they're like, oh, kids learn nothing from homework. They learn nothing. It just makes them crazy. It makes parents crazy. We're ruining their lives with homework. But fuck it. We're giving them homework because we hate them. If you have something else to go on homework, but I want to pivot somewhere else, but go ahead.
I would say if the kids' union could stop homework, wow, that would be such a monumental victory. I would
run as head of the union on that platform.
Well, and that is exactly
Greg, no more homework.
Well, here's the thing.
I'm 38.
This is why
you all feel weird, but I got Larry watching my back. He knows I'm not a pedophile.
And this is the power.
Get the dogs.
This is the power of unions. This is the what unions were designed for, because to make change, all you have to do now that you have a union is say, hey, guess what? No one did their homework. What are you going to do?
We're
stop doing, because it's like a strike. It's a homework. It's a homework strike. Yes. And then you say, well, you're going to fail us all? Okay, we all come back next year. And we keep not doing their homework. And then you got fucking Tom Candiotti's son doing his homework.
And then this kid's going, we got enough free time as it is. What do I do?
I'm a millionaire.
Tell you this, and then the parents go, fine, well, no one's getting birthday presents. Then I, as the union head, go, children, we're all getting on a bus. We're all walking. We're walking out on parents, and we're going to move to my island where I am king, where it's in a kids-run island, okay,
all right, well, and guess what? No dogs allowed on Kid Island. And no questions asked about it.
No Larry.
No Larry.
Now, I want to bring up another point. Because of kids' union, let's take it to the next level, right? Union. We figured that out. That's done. We can go back, but it's done. I want to bring in new managers.
But you'd be a fucking idiot if you went back, because it's done.
No. I'm saying I'm open, but I'm also going to bring up a new point, which is managers for children, right? When I was a kid, I had so many great talents, but I was a South End kid, the North End, all the cool kids. I want a manager who's out there, and he put me in the spotlight, being like, all right, look, Greg, we're throwing like a comic book gala. You're going to be the head of it. It's going to make you look good. I want, like an agent who's getting me like, all right, we can get you on the managers and agents for children to start making them the cool kids in high school. They could take 10% of my French fries at lunch.
Here's the problem here. Now, as always, I have to be the stick in the mud on this podcast.
We've got to figure it out, and I need you to help me figure it out.
I don't know that it is, because obviously the kids' union is in the best interest of the kids. The kids are going to want to unionize, right? That makes sense. The managers and agents, obviously there are managers and agents for children, just not for what you're wanting. There's
I want an agent who goes
child stars
and goes, I need to get my kid in the sleepover.
Right.
Okay? This is really going to work for him. Okay.
The problem with that is going to be like you said, it's going to be funding. Okay. Not a lot of agents out there. Basically what you're going to have to find, Greg, and I'm not saying it's undoable. You're going to have to find a homeless guy that's not crazy. So one that's kind of, he can talk, you dress him up kind of nice, and he's going to be the kind of guy that'll do these things for, hey man, I'll give you 10% of whatever the candy is, whatever the pizza is at this sleepover, I'll give you 2 slices. He'll be on board for that, because you're not going to get a working adult to work for free for 10% of children's. For
the manager and agent, that can be children who do those jobs, because I'll be honest, the job of manager and agent can be done by a child. So whereas I would
Broomy, you got that gunshot on that soundboard? Wow.
Gotta pick up the phone, huh?
Man.
Whereas I think the union should be done by an adult, because they need power and strength and they know how to run whatever. But we could have just some snidey little kid walking over, to a surprise party, and he's like, I got a guy, he makes these parties better, and a manager just being like, where do you want your childhood to go? Like, are you thinking about, after school sports? What are you thinking about?
Does your boy do tumble salts? Because my boy does tumble salts.
Yeah.
Front
Also-
handsprings, you name it. I got a girl who can do 2 flips and not complain about it.
I don't know if this is a sketch or a TV show or a 6-part movie, but Kid
6-part
Manager.
movie. 6-part movie.
This is a sketch. Kid Manager is a sketch. Yeah, that's it. That's on that. Unless you guys got more.
Now, the problem is, one thing we do have to address.
You're anti-kid, man.
I'm
I
pro
really
kid.
is.
I'm 100% pro kid. But something that we need to take on, and it's serious. I'd like to get serious.
Hang on, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. But do you think, because this is right to what you're saying, do you think pedophiles ever came out and were like, hey, we got to get rid of the word pedophile is dirty. We're calling ourselves pro children. We are pro kids. You know, to try to add light to it. Sorry, Brendan.
Well, that's like NAMBLA. They tried that.
Oh, right.
But that sounds even worse. The North American Man-Boy Love
That's
Association.
insane. That is absolutely insane that that's like a real organization.
Hey,
So
we got to clean up our image.
Yeah. The internet has we can't give them a .com. What'd you say?
The problem with the pro kids thing is the people that are going to fight it are professional kids who are already called pro kids.
Oh, okay. Brendan, I did cut you off severely with that. And
Well-
Anthony, what you said I thought was very funny, but I got so in my head about really shutting down, putting the stop on Brendan, back here. Let me get the energy going. And Brendan!
I need no energy. I need no energy for this because it's a dire situation. It's serious, and it's an element we need to address before the ball gets rolling. Okay, a union forms. What immediately happens next?
Oh,
The mafia moves in.
The mafia starts sniffing around, and you think
Yeah.
they're not going to be all over the kids' union, trying to infiltrate, trying to take their cut. They get there. They hold back the kids on whatever they want. You wanna feed the kids pizza for lunch? You better use sales, otherwise they're not eating.
Yeah,
No,
otherwise Santa Claus ain't coming this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wake up with the head of a merry-go-round horse in your head.
Yeah. Yeah, Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer is dead in your bed.
I don't know. These carousels are highly flammable.
Yeah.
Wouldn't want something to happen, would you?
Somebody deflated all the kickballs. The mob's going to get in there. The mob is going to get in there. The mob's going to get in there.
Yeah, you're right, man.
I guess we just embrace it, really. That's what the unions seem to do
Yeah.
anyway, because they don't really fuck over the unions. They use the power over the unions to make money off other people. Like they say, hey, you want the unions working on this construction, you better buy the concrete from so and so. Otherwise you're a non-union shop. We're striking it, So
Yeah.
they're not really fucking over the unions. They're fucking over other people.
The only difference between the mob and actual agents is that the mob uses violence. But everyone's doing the shit the mob did anyway. What do you think insurance companies are? It's the mob, except they kill you.
Well, that's how the mob
Hey.
formed, is because these were people that couldn't really rely on or communicate with the police. That's what the initial aspect of the mafia was, people who needed protections or loans that couldn't go to banks or the police, and then it became not great, I would say.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I want to tell you guys about something that happened to me yesterday. Yesterday was one of the biggest days of my life. Unless we have more on the Children's Union.
I'm
Wait.
excited for yesterday.
Write
Man.
it up.
How long's your story, Greg? Because I got 30 seconds that I forgot to tell. I only
Go ahead.
texted Greg this. Dude, yesterday on the podcast, when we were in the middle of, I don't want to ruin it for those who don't, who might subscribe to the Patreon, but we were in the middle of a fantastic sketch, I would say, all improv, many different characters from times and places. But when I said, I think I just heard a gunshot, it was somebody. There was a shooting 30 feet from my fucking door.
Yeah.
This whole street shut down. So I go, I think I heard a gunshot on the podcast. It was a gunshot literally outside my window.
Our podcast is evidence now, huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
You gotta get those
yes.
cops to subscribe.
Yeah, according
$10
to
a month.
Actually,
$10 a month to hear this in court, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
That actually
Okay.
might be
This is
real.
evidence.
You might actually need to tweet them and be like, "Hey, we do have the audio recording of the
Hey,
gunshot,"
it's not free.
and then
And it
play.
ain't
But you have to
free.
play the whole podcast. Yeah,
Nah.
the only way you get it is if you play the whole podcast for the court.
I think they gave up. As far as I can tell, they shut down the street for a while and said, "No finding this guy," and back to business as usual.
No
Brendan,
audio evidence.
If
It's like
you,
when-
yeah, Brendan, if you appear in court, you at the end of your testament, you have to say, "Please watch, subscribe,
Yeah.
like, rate, and review."
smash that review
Smash
button
that-
before
smash
you
that
smash
review
the
button.
door closed on that man for life in prison.
Well,
Yep.
it's going to be very complicated in court because they'll play the audio and they'll go, "Is that George Harrison from the Beatles?"
Yeah, that's what they're gonna go. Man, we've got a whole new case on our hands.
Yeah.
Somehow these guys are in touch with a couple of dead Beatles, and we know the exacts of Scottie Pippen's origin story.
Yeah. Somebody called Scottie Pippen as a character witness. He was there. Okay, Greg. Now I interrupted your story to tell that. I just wanted to get that out there. What was this day yesterday? The day of days.
I do also want to point out that the thing about Brooklyn that I always laugh about, and I don't want to get too into the Brendan, you can throw into this on however much you want, but from people we known is that like you'd get these people who move to Brooklyn and they're trying not to be racist because they're like, I don't want to judge these towns, but it's like, it's the ghetto. Okay. Like you can't say ghetto, but it's like when I lived a block out of Newark and then we were going to Brooklyn, people were like, you're judging them by the way they look. It's like, no. There is black people. And then there is Puerto Rican people, and then there is poor people who will kill you. And you have to have some kind of. I feel like this is going somewhere weird.
No, it's absolutely
Really
right because it's like
two racist men. Green and
no,
not green. That's it.
Hey,
It's people who don't never really lived there or know
yes.
that there's a difference in people.
You're absolutely right because it's exactly kind of what me and Amy got into yesterday is because I mean we're both liberal people, but she's like ultra liberal and she's kind of like defending the people of the neighborhood, and I'm going to her, hey, look, I'm not making any judgment on the people of the neighborhood. I'm judging the fact that a rapper got killed 2 blocks away last week, and now there's a gunshot outside my front door. Like no judgment on anyone. I'm telling you facts, and like I'm telling you, I don't want to be in a position where you get killed, and I got to tell your parents, oh yeah, there was a gunshot last week. We just ignored that and stayed here, And it's like I think me and you, like I told her, I was like when I first graduated college and hadn't got sober yet, I lived in the ghetto in Cleveland, and I had a gun pulled on me and my friend, and I saw a man get shot. And I said, when I got sober, I said, I'm never living in a situation like that again. It's not a judgment on most of the people in the neighborhood. It's just the facts of the
bad neighborhood.
Yeah, it's the facts of what's happening. It's like it's not the people. It's like it's a few bad people, and the fact that the cops aren't giving it the right attention, and it's like you can either live in your ideals of like, no, these are good people, like don't judge, or you can live in reality where you're like, yeah, but there's people getting shot.
Yeah.
So,
bad people. That's not racist. It's a bad neighborhood.
Yeah, no, right. So I don't know. We'll figure out what we're going to do. I think we're going to stay here because I'm afraid of her.
Bad neighborhood in that house.
Yeah, worst neighborhood.
So, man, I think you guys have dealt with this, but it's one of my favorite things. I had to do. I was watching Cuomo, and they were like, "Oh, we're caught up on everybody who needs to get health insurance or not health insurance, unemployment. If you haven't got it, they're like, it's because it's a scam or some shit." So I messaged one of the secretary of Cuomo, and I was like, "I don't know what's going on. I don't, So then within 20 minutes, the Department of Labor messaged me, and they're like, "We're going to call you." Now, here's the thing about New York that I don't think a lot of people understand. All of the towns in New York, all the cities like Williamsburg, Astoria, like there's hipsters, it's cool people. But then when you deal with city job people, you get it's like coming into a tribe of like it's like, whoa, you are still here? Like you just see like Native Americans walking around in like a headdress. You're like, how is this untouched? I get this city guy calling about unemployment, and he goes, hey, I gotta speak with fucking Gregory. Like, I swear to God, he was just Queens guy just calling me like, yeah, I gotta get you an appointment. And I was like, yeah, man, I don't know what's going on with this. And I'm trying to think of the exact words he said, but he was like, yeah, this thing's all fucked up. I'm gonna fix this for you now. Hang on a second, right? And then he was like, he just kept going on. He was so like old school Queens. He goes, what did he say? Oh, this was the thing. He goes, I go, yeah, my name. He goes, you spell your name. I go, Greg Cora Luzo. He goes, Ricky's kid? And I went, no, man. He goes, I go, no, my dad's name is Joe. And he goes, yeah, you don't seem like Ricky's kid anyway. Ricky, that guy was never funny. You said you're a comedian, right? Yeah, no, Ricky, that guy was never funny. You funny? You got to be funny. And I'm like, just give it to me, buddy. I was like, I wanted to hit record on this conversation. Would you guys ever deal with that when you?
Absolutely. Like
the cops, the sanitation workers.
Yes,
they're like 1950s Brooklyn people.
Yeah, they're still
changed.
Here. You get them. You get exactly what you said. The sanitation workers, the firefighters, the cops. Because first of all, those jobs are hard to get, very hard to get, and it's considered. There's huge nepotism, and it's considered like if you're a guy that just moved here from Ohio, you're not becoming a cop. You're not you're gonna be a firefighter. Fuck off. Like you need your great grandfather had to be a firefighter, and it's a huge deal. Like I remember we were in John's, we were in A&F one day, and some guy came in, and his kid had just got a Department of Transportation job, and like. All the other guys in A&F go, come here, Billy, and they're giving him a hug and shit because it's like a big deal because those city jobs are fucking crazy. You can retire when you're 45, full pension, like good pay. It's considered like a high-end job. But what you're talking about, it still lives in these pockets. Like it lives in those jobs we talked about. It lives, I've said it before, it certainly lives on sports talk radio. You're not getting any Williamsburg guys calling into that. Get a listen to that, and you'll hear the real New Yorkers come out.
Yeah, the real New Yorkers, they don't live where the trains go. You know? It's
right.
Like, go to Mazpeth. That's where you get the real fucking New Yorkers. You know what I mean? Guys have been there.
They don't – totally, man. Like 8 cars in a driveway where you're, you know what I mean? Where you're just like, how the fuck are you getting around this town? Like those are the kind of guys that are like, I never saw Ghostbusters because that ain't real New York.
Yeah,
that never happened.
That's why the New York Post is still going.
I knew the real Ghostbusters.
I knew. Yeah, exactly.
I knew them. They weren't like this.
Yeah, you want to talk Ghostbusters? I know ghosts. And they weren't named Slimer.
Yeah, I got a Jimmy the Fingered. I got Ricky and a Slipstream. Those guys would fucking they were busting real ghouls, if you know what I'm talking about. They didn't call them ghosts, they call them ghouls.
It's so funny, like you like because I mean you guys are a little closer to it than I am because you grew up in Jersey, obviously, which is pretty New York adjacent. But like,
I would say that New York is Jersey adjacent, but Buffalo, go ahead.
Okay, but I mean I've been here, 10 plus years, and there's still neighborhoods they keep secret. Like I went to get my car fixed, and all of a sudden I was just in a neighborhood. No trains came there. They had houses with yards and just a bunch of Italians walking around. It was just like, well, I don't know. I don't even think I think they deliberately didn't name this place. Yeah. Like, I don't know where I am. This is just a part of Brooklyn where you are not fucking welcome if you're not a New Yorker. Like,
it's like District 9.
Yeah, Sammy, my mechanic, was like, you got to go pick up this part. I can't get it. And I go, all right. He goes, where? He goes, it's 427 Baytown. I'm like, what the fuck is Baytown? Like, it's in between Williamsburg. It's on an island. It's like, I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, the people in Baytown are like those uppity cunts over at Bay Ridge. They're not real New Yorkers.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Where are we on time? I don't have a clock.
Oh, boy.
We got 10 minutes left.
Nice.
Nice.
Greg.
You know what I did? You know what I did last night? Me and Amy had a date night. We had ordered some pizzas, a little treat, and in honor of Fred Willard's passing, I haven't seen this for years. I watched Waiting for Guffman.
Mm-hmm.
God damn, he's so funny. He is so funny. There's this one part where he's talking to Eugene Levy. Waiting for Guffman is where, like, the community theater Christopher Guest movie. You know, for the listeners that don't know Christopher Guest, he's like Best in Show, Waiting for Guffman. What are the other ones?
Yeah, that's good.
Wind.
That's enough.
What's that?
Mighty Wind.
What's Mighty Wind about?
Oh, it's about like a full concert that like all these people performed in it, and they're
right.
like it's like 20 years later or something like that.
But I feel like
Tap, Christopher Guest?
No,
Yes.
It always seems like it is. It's not. I think
yes too.
no,
I
it's
assumed it was.
he might be in it, but it's not. He didn't direct it. Let's
We
see.
lost Brendan.
No, I'm looking some. I'm looking some stuff up. Yeah, he was in Spinal Tap, but he didn't write Spinal Tap. Best in Show, Waiting for Guffman. I feel like I'm missing a big one.
It's all right. We could just tell us your story.
No, I gotta know the big one.
We'll just say Spinal Tap.
Well, he was in Spinal Tap. He did not direct it. Rob Reiner directed Spinal Tap. But anyway,
Right.
Compelling content.
You just broke. What happened?
Yeah.
What do you mean I broke?
The collection of Christopher Guest movies broke your mind.
Yeah.
No, it didn't. My mind's in one piece. Now, I was just going to say how great Fred Willard was. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just so funny
Sharp
in that
till the
movie.
end, too. Sharp till the end. Like, super funny till the very end.
I thought he was, yes.
No, I was just saying that's why I wish people like him would wear bulletproof vests, you know?
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. These
had so
school
much more to
shootings have to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was so funny. I always thought he was so funny in Anchorman. I thought that was like a small role that got overlooked with him. Just that one line alone when he hangs up the phone and he goes, I don't even know where he got a bow and arrow. Thinking about his kid. That's so funny.
Yeah. I also just had in my mind a school shooting happening and some kid under a desk on the phone being like, you got to get me out of here, Rick. You got to get me out of here. Just screaming at his agent.
Hang in there, kid. We'll use this.
Hey,
We're going to tell you this. You'll be all over Kid Dateline.
Just get yourself in front of a camera when they're out, okay? Take some of your look, they're dead. Put the blood on your face. All right, it's gonna make them look big. These piece of shit agents. Let me tell you, these kid agents are some of the biggest pieces of shit in the business.
Oh, I bet, man. Because they're preying on the most innocent people.
Yeah, and their kids.
In the world.
Yeah. Oh man. Go ahead.
No, I had nothing.
I got one last piece of my day of yesterday, because yesterday was one of the best days of my life. And then so after all of that happened, my phone just was going crazy. My phone like haywired, and it was doing a thing called ghost touching, where it literally did one. I tried to unlock it. It then opened YouTube, started playing Dave Chappelle, and I couldn't turn it off. And I was like, well, all right. So I lowered down the volume. Then it called my ex-girlfriend. And then it called Reese Waters, who I did a show with 15 years ago. And I was just like, I don't know, Reese Waters is going to get and I couldn't, because of ghost text, I couldn't hang up on it. So I was just like, I think Reese is on the phone. And I was just trying to hang up. It was crazy.
Wow.
I was like, I barely know him. I mean, 15 years ago, we had a bunch of conversations, but I don't even know what he's up to. So anyway, I got on the phone with Apple for 6 hours. That's what you have to do now, because all the Apple stores are closed.
Yeah.
It was doing this crazy thing that was known online, was a problem. First, 2 hours was AT&T, where these guys heroes, because they don't know what they're talking about. Like, we are going to try to. I'm literally on Google watching the guy him telling me the things I'm reading. And I'm like, you're just Googling this. I'm looking at, I was starting to say his word. I go, and then maybe we do a hard reset. And he was like, yeah, hard reset. I go, I'm on the same website as you. You don't have anything better to give than I do. Then he's like, hey, man, why don't you call Apple? I was like, yeah, I should have called. Why did I not call you? I call Apple. She then says it's a known issue and that they're going to replace the phone for free. And then says, after an hour and a half, because we have to like do all this shit to like get him to set it. It's crazy. She goes, oh, when I said before we were going to do for free, I misspoke. We're actually not going to. It's actually going to be $1,200 or something to get a new phone. And I went, no, we're not doing that. You told me it's free. We're doing it for free. And she goes, there's just nothing. I said, it's okay. It's okay. You said a thing. It's okay. It's not what we're doing. What you're saying we're not going to do. And in front of my hands, I saw, say you're an essential worker, say you're a nurse, you lost a bunch of patients, say you lost your brother to COVID. And I'm like, which one of these cards am I going to pull next? Right? Like, which one of these? She goes, okay, so there's nothing I could do. And I said, so here's what I want you to do. Do me a favor. And this is the best way to go at it. I said, do me a favor. Just do me a favor. You seem like a nice lady. Go talk to your boss. Tell her you told me it was thing and you got to do it. And she goes, I go, just go do that. She gets her boss. Boss comes on the line, another hour and a half of her just putting, and then says, and they eventually were like, okay, we're going to send you a box. But the way they do it now is you have to pay $1,200 for them to send you a phone. And then when you send your phone back, they refund it, which is like Apple's balls that they just think anybody just has $1,200 ready to go. I said, I got to ask my wife. I get Tita's credit card. I was like, I don't have a credit card. I don't have $1,200 ready to blast. So Tita had to put on her credit card. And Tita's screaming at me, like, because we're all done, phones off, 6 hours of stress. And then Tita just walks over and goes, did you get any of that in writing? And I was like, fuck you. What am I going to do? Call them back and be like, I didn't get it in writing. But now she's just like, she always knows when to like find the flaw at the worst possible. Like 6 hours on the phone, 5 or 6 hours on the phone. And then she just goes, yeah, I hope you got it in writing because I don't think we should do it if you didn't get it in writing. And I go, we bought a $1,200 phone. Jesus. Yeah. Not as much, that's all I had to add.
It's like a hostage situation. Like, that's crazy. I mean, I get it. They're trying to stop people from keeping a working phone and getting it, like defrauding them. I get that. But still, that's crazy. Like, send me $1,200. You'll get it back when I get it. Like, it's like, what the fuck is this? A Liam Neeson movie? Just give me the fucking phone. My phone's broke. You're listening to it. Why don't you fucking go in and hear my call with Reese Waters, you piece of shit?
Yeah, they had another option. They do have another option. They go where they're like, we mail you a box, you mail your phone, then we mail you a phone box. But that takes up to 3 weeks. So you just like, so I can't be in this virus without a phone for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, this is my entire career. What's barely holding on by the thread, it will be over if we do that. But yeah, it's crazy.
I'd like to track a little bit on how crazy it is in the day and age we live in. I don't know if it's amazing or shitty or what, but it's just like, oh, your unemployment's not working? Maybe go on the website for a while. And it's like, nah, actually the solution is to tweet at Andrew Cuomo's top aide. And that's the only way you get it done. You literally tweet at the fucking governor's aide, and it's like, oh yeah, we'll call you now. We'll call you now because you tweeted at the fucking secretary of Andrew Cuomo.
Well, you have to be honest with you, it's not even the thing of like bad publicity. It's the thing of there's so much bullshit in the middle that you just have to skip right over it. Because I did that, and then I know Graham K was also having a problem with unemployment, and I was like, dude, do this. He texted me 2 hours later and goes, they fixed it for me. So literally, I hate to say it, but the best way to get any of this done is to just tweet at your governor and don't say the governor because the governor's got too many followers. The governor's secretary because she's got less followers, and she'll fucking get to it. That's what happened.
Anytime I have any problem with like construction on my street or anything like that, I call directly the assistant to the Secretary General of the UN. That's my guy. That's my guy. And he goes, this is the United Nations. I go, last time I checked, I live in a nation, and this street is in a goddamn nation. Now let's get united. And he helps me out every time, man. Cleared it out. He got alternate side parking fixed up for me.
Dude,
Wow.
These people are like, when you have comedians who they're people like, hey, will you do my podcast? And they answer immediately. And they're like, I can't believe we got you. It's like, yeah, that's how a lot of these people are. It's like,
Yeah.
You can get the secretary to Cuomo. Not a lot of people are, she's not fulfilled day with Judd Apatow meetings. You know what I mean? Like you can get, you can get a lot of these people if you just go 2 steps down or 1 step down. And they're still pretty important.
It's funny.
Yeah, and they probably feel great to help. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny because like years and years ago, before I did comedy, I tweeted like a joke, kind of a shitty joke about Doug Benson, and I like used his handle in it. It was just mainly about like making fun of people who make a big deal of smoking weed at 420. Like it's like just smoke weed all the time. You you grow up, you're an adult. And he like, and at the time I was a big fan of Doug Loves Movies, and he like angrily tweeted back at me. And I remember being shocked, like, he reads this? Like, well, this is crazy. But it's like, yeah, of course he reads. Like, there aren't, like, he's just a comedian, Like, but I didn't know that at the time. I'm like, this guy's a huge celebrity. He won't see this. I'll make this tweet. And then it's like, no, of course he saw that. Probably remembers it. You probably can't do Doug Loves Movies.
Yeah, so I don't really want to talk too much about it because I kind of forgave this kid in my own way. There was a guy who commented a really shitty thing on my YouTube video, and I was like, this is really fucking mean, right? And then I looked and saw he was a stand-up comedian, and I was like, oh, this kid's a fucking comedian. And then I found out he was in the Rad Dudecast After Dark page, and then realized he was a kid I was doing. Like, I went on his Instagram. I was like trying to support him and be nice to him. And then I was like, I just kind of like let it go. But I was like, oh, I remember you, man. You said something really fucking mean to me. And he was a big fan. So it was like, I guess he just didn't know that was like, don't be mean to people. You know what I mean? Or he was trying to make his fucking bones off of going after a big guy. But I remember. And now I stopped kind of interacting with him. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to interact with you anymore, man. You said a really fucking mean thing to me, and I remembered who you were. He hears this now. He knows who he is.
Thanks for paying to listen to this. Oh, it was a free episode. Nah, whatever.
It was a free episode. Should I not have said that? I don't know. You guys got quiet. Should I not have said that?
No, man.
No,
I think
listening.
You know what? I think sometimes.
Yeah, I'm on his side. No, man. I was just listening.
I think what happens is, like, as very minor public figures, people do think like they think it's open season, like they think you're sort of same thing I did to Doug Benson. You think like, fuck, like it's nothing to them. Like, they're sort of bulletproof. They won't even probably see this or read this or care, when it's like, no, we are people. Yeah. And we're also not clearly we're not like mega celebrities, clearly, and Anthony, according to Blind Mike, is, but
we're doing his podcast on Wednesday.
I'm just glad you brought that up, Brendan.
But I think it's like, we're just people. Like, if you say mean stuff, I see it, like I see and I don't like it. It makes me feel hurt. Yeah.
I think that we're all also gotten good at like knowing how to like deflect and not let it in. But sometimes when you find out that it's like, oh, you were a fan of ours, it feels a little more personal because especially our fans, I feel like are more like family. They're like friends a little bit, and you're like, oh, you talk to them and whatever. And then when one of them turns on you, you go, man, I trust. I like if you're just a guy on YouTube, I don't care. But if you're like a guy in the Rad Dude After Dark page, it's like I kind of trusted you a little bit. I kind of trusted you. I give them a little bit.
I think I know
like Obi-Wan.
I think I know who you're talking about, and I like this kid a lot. I would urge you to give him a second chance. I think he
Oh,
probably
no.
thought he
Maybe
was
it's not clear with.
Whoa, was it urge? Was that your like
No,
subtle?
no.
No, definitely not urge. No, and I did give this kid a second chance. I've kind of like he doesn't. Well, his second chance was I never brought it up to him, and I was never like, yeah, dude, I saw this shit. And his second chance was that like I was like chatting with him on his Instagram once and being like, "Ah, man, you're really talented. This is really good." And I was like, and it's you know like I'll say this too. I watched his stand up and I was like, he's got potential. He's not bad.
He's good. I know who you're
right.
talking about. He's new in, and he's very good for how new he is. But yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like you learn. Like I learned after that Doug Benson thing where I was like, oh, that's a guy, and that was shortly before I got into stand up. But I knew I was going to want to get into stand up, and it's like, oh yeah, don't insult my colleagues. You know, like
also I don't remember what he's. Funniest part, I have no idea what he said. I can't remember because I erased the comment. But I remember to hurt my feelings.
Look at Anthony's posture. Anthony just turned completely sideways. He's ready to jump out of his chair. Thank you guys for listening. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. I think that's it, right?